This is Canada Reads American Style, featuring two friends who love Canada Reads and Canadian literature. Welcome our host Rebecca from Michigan and Tara from Ontario. Hi everyone and Happy New Year. It is Rebecca and Tara and we are so excited to kick off a new year.
Woo, Happy New Year. New year of reading. I am so excited.
Yeah, same here. So today we will be talking about, of course, just a wrap up of our 23 goals and then our 24 goals, which I'm really excited to hear what Tara might have. I think I have some interesting ones, but I can't wait to hear yours as well. But what is up with you? I know you've had some nice time off from your job. So what's up with you today?
I have been just like hibernating, like during the holidays, the in between, and I'm continuing now because I have this week off too. So I'm just doing like a little nice mellow hanging out, hopefully get some things done. But guess what I did today on January 2nd? I DNF'd my first book of 2024.
No.
Yeah.
I can't even believe it. Cannot even
I
believe it.
know. I can't either. I don't know who I am. But it's my first nonfiction book that I started reading this morning. And it is called Women and Other Monsters, Building a New Mythology by Jess Zimmerman. I think the reason why I decided to DNF it, I thought I was getting a collection of essays about women in Greek mythology and the monsters and like the colliding of the two, which it is partially. I think I read two of the essays, but there's also a lot of memoir in it of the author's life. And normally I just said on our last episode how excited I was to realize how much I love memoirs, but I did not like the blending of these two.
And what was the author's name? Is it a man?
No, woman. Jess
Oh,
Zimmerman.
Jess. I thought you said
Yes.
Jeff, Jeff.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
got
No,
it. Okay,
Jess
good.
Zimmerman.
Okay.
So, like really well written, and I really enjoyed what she had to say about the monsters. Like she has discussed Medusa, the Gorgons. I really enjoyed what I've read so far, minus the memoir bits. So I think I may revisit it in the future, but I'm putting it aside for now. It wasn't what I wanted at this moment.
Well, I think it's a bold choice to start your year with a DNF.
I know.
But I agree with you. I think it's a smart thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So how are you?
What have I been up to? So I will just mention that I have I don't know, 10-week-old or 11-week-old now. No, 10 weeks. 10-week-old puppy. So let me just say that it is a lot of work for a puppy. So all of my time is around the puppy. And I love her. She is the most beautiful little black lab. Which is my favorite dog on the planet, little black labs. But it's a lot of work and I'm exhausted. So I haven't done a whole lot of reading yet. I'm hoping to get to some reading, but that's okay because she's not going to be this young forever. And I'm already seeing some progress. And I will say, again, she's a service dog in training and she is really smart. And I can't even tell you the stuff she's learned between 8 and 10 weeks, her commands. It blows my mind. So yeah, she's really cool. So I love her. My little
busy.
Yeah, my little Aurora. So, yeah. Okay, so now that we have all of the well, I don't want to say fun stuff out of the way, but the cool stuff right at the beginning. Chit chat, banter. I like that term too.
I do too.
Now we're going to get into our previous goals. So I'm going to let you go first and tell us what your previous goals were. And did you accomplish all your goals?
Okay. So my first one, which is an ongoing one for several years, is to read the Giller long list. So that would have been in 23. I would have been reading the Giller long list from 2022. And I can check that off. That was accomplished. I think it took me till maybe the end of September. I feel like I finished maybe just before they announced this year's or last year's long list, like 23 long list. So anyways, I got it done. That's all that matters.
Excellent.
Yeah. And then my second goal was to read more Agatha Christie, to work my way through the Agatha Christie canon. And I read 8 Agatha Christie books last year, so I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah,
Excellent.
I was hoping for like a 1 Agatha Christie a month, but I got a little waylaid there for a few months, so that's fine. Totally
Yeah.
fine. I answer to no one but myself. It's fine,
Excellent. I
right?
agree. Yeah.
Third, I had this one was more of a less concrete one, and it was just to read more current books, and I feel like I did that. Like, I was happy with the blend of current books versus, like, backlist books that I read.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm
Mhm.
checking that one off. That one actually I can check off thanks to the library, actually, and using the hold system at the library. That
Yeah.
helped a lot because when I would hear of a new book that I knew I would want to read, I just went and placed my hold, and then I could forget about it until it came in, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
thank you, library.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah. And my fourth one from last year was to whittle down my physical TBR, and that was a huge fail.
Okay.
My physical stack is bigger than it was. So, fine, that's fine. It's
Yeah.
fine. Yep,
Mhm.
yep, it's fine. So, maybe that'll be just like it's always an ongoing one that I'm going to work on, but that one, I did not. Like, I think I started 23 with 55 books and had hoped to get it down to 10. I don't
Mhm.
know. I obviously came nowhere close to that. I have more books.
Yeah.
So I still read a lot from those books or from
Mhm.
that list or my stack, but they kept getting replenished. That's
Mhm.
fine. So
Yeah.
yeah, that one not so good, but that's okay. 3 out of 4.
Excellent. Hey,
Yeah,
75%. That
e-
is a
exactly.
winning number.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. How
Okay.
about you?
Okay, well, I had 3 goals, and my first goal was to because again, I've said this so many times before, but I get a lot of anxiety if I have too many books on my TBR,
Mhm.
like physical books.
Yep.
And so my goal was any book that I bought in 22 or before, I had to read and finish it in 23, and I did that.
That's
Woohoo.
amazing.
Yeah, and I read
Amazing.
them all, and I think it was about 35 books, I think, I wanna say maybe something like that, maybe, I
Yeah.
can't remember for sure. So I don't have a huge TBR because again, I don't normally buy a lot of books, although I have bought more books in the last 4 years since I started this podcast thing. And I'm like, "Yeah, this cannot happen in 24. I cannot buy a lot of books because the puppy costs
I know.
money." So
Yeah.
puppies are not cheap. So I said I just cannot buy a lot of books. So it's going to be not a lot of books added to my TBR. But anyway, so this year, the books I have that I bought in 23, I think is around 35 to 38 books. So I have to finish that
Yeah.
in 24. And am confident that I will
Yeah.
because the ones I bought, I'm really excited to read. So cannot wait to start to tackle those.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
and I'm so anal retentive. You know how I am with my spreadsheets that I actually
Yeah.
know what I just put the month that I purchased it. And so basically I'm going to go like boom, boom, boom down the
Mm.
list, and one of the first ones that I bought last year from Canada Reads the Long List was Finding Edward. Was that the
Oh,
title?
yes. Haven't yet read
So
that either.
yeah, so that one is going to be one that I will read. It'll be at the top of my list to read because it is literally at the top of the list, I
Yeah.
think, of my list. Okay, so that's one goal. I completed it this year. I'm excited. I feel confident I will do it again in
Yep.
24.
Check.
So technically it's not actually even a goal in 24 because I'm just that's my thing. I'm just going to do that
Yeah.
every year. So all right, my second goal, well, I'll do my third goal. So Aesop's Fables, I read it. I already
Yep.
blogged or talked, not blogged, podcasted about it. I'm not going to bore anybody with it, but yes, I did complete it, and so I'm in that sense, I'm 2 for 2, right?
Yep. Check. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So my third one was a big fail. So I am at what is it, 67% of my goals I reached or whatever. So mine was to read and I wrote read or highlight one country per month. So it's like just freaking 12 countries. Just pick books about 12 countries you want to read about. And I don't even know maybe like 4, 3, 2. I don't even know
Oh,
how many it
well,
was.
that's
Yeah.
not terrible.
Nah,
Yeah,
it's, no, but
you
I
know.
keep saying every year I want to do this, like expand more. I really wanted to read a lot of books about Africa,
Yeah.
different countries in Africa. And I would start to look for things, and then I would just get hung up on the research of it. And then I started following the hashtag, like Read Around the World or whatever those hashtags are.
Mhm.
And that wasn't really working for me either, So then finally I just went, you know what? I, I'm just letting this one go, and I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah.
So I didn't at
No,
all.
they're your goals. Again, you
Yeah,
answer to no one but you,
absolutely.
right?
So yeah, but so I feel like you and I both did a really wonderful job for 2023.
I think so too. Yep.
Excellent.
Yep.
Okay.
It was a good year. A good reading year. It was,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
really was. I mean, all the way
otherwise.
around, I think, yeah, for
Yeah.
both of us, I think it really was.
Yeah.
So, what are your goals for 24?
Okay. Do you want me to go first? Because I feel like mine are kind of boring. So yours will be more interesting and you should go second. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll go. I mean, you want me to go first? Or
No, let's get the like not interesting ones out of the way.
okay. All right. I'll let
Because
I'll
I
let I'll let you go first, I guess
yeah,
then.
yeah. Because then we finish on a bang with like a more of, "Oh, what's
I
Rebecca
think
gonna do?"
yeah, I think my third one is a pretty good goal. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
All right.
Okay, so I have just 3 and 2 are the same as last year. So the Giller long list for 2023.
Mhm.
So that's my normal. I'm gonna continue with my Agatha Christie reading, so that's goal number 2.
I love it.
And so this is a new one, and I am pretty excited by this one.
Ooh.
Although I think it's going to be like my Agatha Christie one. I don't think I'll complete it in a year. But I want to read more books by the author Helen Humphreys. Are you familiar with her, Rebecca?
The name is familiar, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to name a title. So,
So she is a Canadian author. I think she was born in the UK, but now lives in and has for quite a while, Kingston, Ontario.
okay.
And years ago, so I have read one of her books. She has 4 books of poetry, 5 works of creative nonfiction, and 9 novels. I've
Ooh.
read one, which I loved. And I had seen her, and this book that I picked up that I've read was published in 2007. And I had picked it up at a reading where she was reading, and I loved listening to her talk and read. I picked up the book. I loved the book, which I will mention in a bit. And every couple of years, she publishes a book, and I'm like, oh, that sounds amazing. And then I don't read them. I don't know why.
Mhm.
And it's annoying me. And I wish I could remember someone recently on Instagram had read one of her more recent books and posted it. And I was like, dang it, Tara, you've got to read her books. So I'm like, that would be a good goal for 2024. I will mention the one book that I have read, which I think you would actually love as well, Rebecca.
Mhm.
It's called The Frozen Thames. And it's this beautiful little book. It's like literally tiny. It's about the size of my hand
Mhm.
and maybe like an inch and a half thick. And it is, so the opening line is, in its long history, the River Thames has frozen solid 40 times. These are the stories of that frozen river. So it's the stories of the times that the Thames has frozen over history. So like the first story happened in 1142.
I would
And
love this. I already
it's
know I would
fascinating.
love this book. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
It's a beautiful book, and she's a great writer. I don't know why I haven't read more of her work. Her most recent book is, oh, I can't remember now what it's called, but it's a memoir about her writing and solitude, I believe, and the dogs that she has had throughout her life.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have heard of this book. I was just looking
Yes.
at her books. And A Dog Called Fig, Solitude
Yes.
Connection, The Writing Life.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think that you will also love her. So that's my like really big one for the year.
Oh my gosh, she wrote one called Nocturne on the life and death of my brother. That might resonate with me, just
Mhm.
having my experience this past year.
Yeah.
So, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
love that goal.
Thank you.
I can't wait to hear what you are saying about her books. Have you thought about, like, are you gonna try to complete all of her books this year? Is that kind of the goal
Uh,
specifically, or just a certain
I don't
number?
know. I would like to do 1 a month,
Mhm.
and she has with the 4 books of poetry, I
Yeah.
think there's, like, total 18 books that she's written, so that is probably not doable in a year for me,
Mhm.
and her books, the poetry, they look like they're a little older, so they might be more difficult to get, but I'm going to do my best.
Oh my gosh, all of
Yeah.
these books look
Oh,
amazing.
yeah.
I'm just looking at
Yeah.
all of them.
Like, I think
Oh,
she could be a
man.
favorite author of mine, and I'm kind of annoyed that I haven't read her already. I'm annoyed at myself.
Okay, well, I'm really looking forward to this goal. I
Yeah.
cannot wait. This looks I mean, I'm excited about this for you.
Thank you.
And I think I might be definitely, well, I certainly am gonna add some of her titles. Holy
Oh, yeah.
baloney.
Well, I will
Those are
pass those books
great.
on. If I purchase
Yeah,
any, I'll pass them on to you.
cool, thank
Yeah,
you.
you're
Wow.
welcome.
Excellent. Oh my
Thank you.
gosh.
Okay, so what's on your goals for 2024?
So I have 4 goals, it turns out, because I just remembered
Okay.
I thought of a new one, like 2 days ago from something I saw on Bookstagram. But first I'm gonna
Oh,
say,
excellent.
so because I read Aesop's Fables last year, I just also then decided, I've never really read the Grimm's fairy tales.
Yes.
And so I thought, I, of course, had to buy the quote, well, not in the German, but the original, so I got the all new 3rd edition, the complete fairy tales of the Brothers Grimm, and it is about a whopping 760 pages or something like that. And I think too that this will help me in other reading that I do, because
Mm,
mostly because you sort of know a story, but you don't really know the story because you've never actually read the story.
yeah,
So I think this will be very helpful. So I don't know how far I'll get in this year, because I'm not even going to set a goal, because it is 760 pages, but
yeah.
I'm going to start reading from the beginning, the Brothers Grimm fairy tales.
I love that goal because also, even the stories that we know, most
Mhm.
of what we know is the Disney version and not the
Exactly.
real Grimm
Yes.
version.
And that's what I've read, is how sort of like kind of like violent and gruesome some of them
Mhm.
are, and that's when I just said, "Yeah, the Disney thing, yeah, they tell us one side of it, but I wanna read what they were really
Yeah.
talking about." And I've read a lot about the Brothers Grimms themselves, and that their lives are really fascinating, so, I'm excited about reading that, so yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
I'm excited for you to read it.
Yes, thank you.
Mm.
So my next book, I talked about this on the podcast at some point in 23. I don't remember when or why. And mostly I had checked it out from the library, and it's so beautiful. It's kind of like a coffee table type book, but it's called Project 562, Changing the Way We See Native America. And this Native American woman, indigenous woman in the United States, Matika Wilbur, spent 10 years on the road photographing people from the 562 federally recognized tribes in the United States. And it is stunningly beautiful. I mean, when I got it from the library, I thought, well, I didn't even keep it that long. And I thought, nope, just going to buy it.
Mhm.
And it has enough stories that I should be able to I should read at least one a day and be done with it by the end of the year, because she basically interviews a person, photographs them in their life, whatever their daily life is, whatever maybe they're known for, their unique experiences. And she has pictures of them and a story about them. She talks to them. And I just feel like, how great is this going to be to read about the lives of all of these indigenous people in the US? And this project, 10-year project, I mean, it blows my mind that she did it, and I just think this is a book that will live forever, and it's
Yeah.
just so beautiful. So, yeah, Project 562. So
It's a
that's
great
going to
one.
get through that. Yeah, because every day I can just read,
Yeah.
because it's a large book, but I can read a page or 2, of these people's life stories and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's 2, and then my 3rd one, which is one I just got off of Bookstagram, and it's a nice easy one. Well, I don't wanna say easy, but it's picture books. But it was, Reading with Red and the Magpie is the account, and I will put this in the show notes if anyone's interested. It's the 2024 Inclusive Picture Book Read Along Challenge, and they have prompts, and they've got 24, I thought it was 26, but I'm seeing 24 prompts here. But it says, for example, like number 1, a BIPOC author and or illustrator. Number 2, current events. Number 3, marginalized voices in history. 4, bilingual text. It goes down to incidental LGBT plus Q plus representation, the arts and or creativity. And it's really about looking for just diverse picture books. And throughout the year, this woman has a great account, number 1. I follow her, and she is just amazing with what she creates in terms of her content about picture books. So if anyone out there is a teacher, or if you know a teacher, this is an account that I just think is amazing. But anyway, so I'm really excited about, just because I love picture books, and being able to go and specifically look for these inclusive titles according to these themes. I really like that. I thought it'd be a fun challenge.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, now here's my big one that I
Okay.
am.
Because you know what? You already
Yeah.
have 3 great goals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are really
Thank
interesting
you.
goals. Yeah.
Yeah, because I always do, I have to say, every year in my real life, I set New Year's resolutions, but they're always fun.
Mhm.
And people, like one year when I turned 60, I said I had to go 60 places I've never been before. And I completed it right before COVID shut down, because my birthday's in April.
Yeah.
So everything was shutting down in the middle of March. And so I went 60 places I'd never been before, or I did 60 things I'd never done. So it was really fun. So I like to make fun resolutions. And I thought those 3 are really fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my big one. This is my big one.
Okay.
So one of the things I've been thinking about a lot over the past year, and probably a little longer, is women authors,
Mhm.
and how I no, I don't even want to say it. I often say I don't read dead white males, because I kind of am just over dead white males. So I admit that there are a lot of classic books that I haven't read, because at a certain age I just said I'm tired. I just don't want to hear from them anymore,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
But then I said to myself, well, have you really looked at the women that if you're going to like dump a whole half of the population, or at least white population, males, you got to, have you been reading women as much? And it's like, no, for classic literature. So here's what I am doing. I picked 12 titles that I've either have read before, or I've always wanted to read, that I never read and I always wanted to read. And my goal is to read one a month. And I have to say, I was talking to our friend Jen, Book Fiend,
Mhm.
and I
Yep.
said to her, because I love the stuff she reads, because she reads a lot of classic literature and stuff.
Yeah.
And she finds gems that I've never heard of. And so I said to her, hey, here's my list that I want to read next year. Do you have any suggestions? And she actually gave me one, which I'll mention in a second here. But this list very well may change. The list I'm starting with today very well may, at the end of the year. My goal is to finish 12 classic women's books,
Okay.
but they certainly could change, because I'm a mood reader, so who
Yeah.
the hell knows what will happen. So here are the titles.
Okay.
So, Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I've never read it.
I think I have, but it was only within, let's say, the last 10 years, maybe.
So I thought, I've never read it. I've seen the movie. I love the movie, or I've seen a couple of adaptations of the movie, but I'm like, I've never read the book. And somebody one time, I love when you meet library patrons and they just assume that you as a librarian have read all the great classics. And so I remember somebody saying like, oh, in Little Women, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm just going to fake it. I'm not even going to admit that I haven't read
Like,
it. I'm just
I've
going to
watched the
lie.
movie, I can fake it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so yeah, Little Women. And then number 2 is Rebecca. I was
Oh,
actually
yeah.
named after this book. So the book has always had a lot of special meaning for me. And I won last year a competition, or a little contest on Bookstagram. And I think it's the 80th anniversary edition. It's so beautiful. And I thought, okay, perfect reason to read it again. I have read it
Mhm.
before. And then this one, I honestly cannot remember if I've ever read it, but I've seen the movie, Jane Eyre. So
Oh,
I want to read
yes.
Jane Eyre.
Yep. Beautiful choice.
Now, now we get into a little bit of books that I have never heard of and authors I don't know. So,
Okay.
but I
Good.
was just looking up famous, like classic women. So, The Price of Salt by Patricia Highsmith. Do you
Oh,
know
yes.
this?
I don't know that book, but I know her, like, I know her name, but I haven't
Mhm.
read anything of hers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't even remember how old she is. Like, I don't know, is she still alive? Like, I
No
can't
idea.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, The Price of Salt.
Okay.
And then this one, because I just thought it was, I think I saw the movie, I think, but it's set in Scotland and I love Scotland. So The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie. So I've never read that.
No, me either. Who's the author?
It's Muriel Spark.
Okay.
And
Nope.
she is Scottish. Because I wrote down all the nationalities of the women because I wanted to make sure I just had a little bit of, a little bit of diversity in there,
Yeah.
kind of. Okay, the next one is, and I want to read this author because I've never read her, but this may or may not be the book I read of hers. But I have The Member of the Wedding by Carson McCullers.
I'm
And
not familiar.
okay, yeah, and I can't think of there's one other book she's really famous for, but I can't think of it. So it might be that one. I don't know, or it may not be her at all. I don't know.
Yeah.
The next one, I think you might know this one. It is Carol Shields, but it is the book Unless.
Oh, yes, I
Have
love
you read
that
it?
book.
You
Yes.
did? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool, cool, cool,
Yeah.
cool. Okay. Now, the next I'll jump here in a second because the last three I want to make a comment about. And then I want to read My Antonia by Willa Cather because I've always been fascinated by Willa Cather because she was a woman who lived in the prairies, and she wrote a lot about prairie life. And
Mhm.
she's really sort of famous. And once I was in Kansas, I'm pretty sure it was Kansas. Pretty sure. Anyway, it's either Kansas or Nebraska now. I can't remember. But anyway, I went to their public library, and they actually had on their top floor this Willa Cather like exhibit that was a permanent exhibit, and it was just really beautiful. And she's a really classic American author. And so I looked for a title, and I'm going to read My Antonia by Willa Cather, which is one of her most noted books that she's written. So there's that one.
Yeah.
Have you heard of her before?
I have, but
Okay.
only very recently, like recently within the last few years, because
Hmm.
of the other podcast that I listen to, the Book Cougars.
Hmm.
I can't remember if it's Chris or Emily, but one of them loves Willa Cather. And she was for like, I think she's read the whole catalog.
Wow.
Yes.
Because originally one of my goals, I thought this goal was originally going to be I'm going to pick one author and read all of her books in 1 year.
Yeah.
And Willa Cather was my choice initially, but then I thought I started kind of looking at reviews, and then I think maybe she's written more than 12, and I just kind of really wanted to focus on 12.
Yeah.
And I know it's crazy how I do my thought process about
No,
these kinds
no,
of
I
things.
like it.
But yeah, so then I ended up going like, nope, I'm going to pick 12 different women, but I am going to include Willa Cather. So,
Yeah.
okay. Now the next one, I just want to mention North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. And this was actually written it was a serialized story, and it was published in 1854 to 1855. And I guess Charles Dickens was the one who got the title. The author Elizabeth Gaskell wanted to title it something else, and he was like, "No, it's going to be North and South," and that was just the end of it. So, God bless him. But anyway, I did see a 2004 British. I don't know if it was PBS or BBC. I don't know what it was, but anyway, it was a 4-part series or something, and I loved it so much I bought it. And I always wanted to read the book, and it's a kind of a love story, but she is, I think, a daughter of a minister or something, and she meets this sort of noble guy, but it's about like the working class and how the conditions were really awful. And I love those kinds of stories. That's kind of like my thing. So I know it's weird, but so North and South will be one of them.
Okay.
And then Testament of Youth, because in 1979, I know many of you weren't even born yet, but anyway, in 1979 on PBS, they did Testament of Youth. I don't remember how many episodes it was, but it was a memoir written by Vera Brittain. And this one covers her life from 1900 to 1925. And she talked in the show, and also just in her writing, because they did have excerpts of her writing, I think, in the show. But she was so eloquent in talking about the lost generation of men who went to World War I and died, and how it changed the whole nature of the British landscape because they lost so many young men. And I just remember, like, it was such an emotional series on TV, and I always wanted to read the book, and I never did. So I thought, I am going to read Testament of Youth. And then my last one is the one I'm really excited because I'll be honest, I did not know it was a book originally. So duh. So Picnic at Hanging Rock, which was a movie from 1975, an Australian movie. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
You would love this movie. First of all, let me just tell you, it's about
Okay.
these girls who go off in the bush to like have an adventure and they disappear.
Oh.
And the movie, I actually had a film class and I watched the movie the first go around just to, get a sense of what it was about. And then I watched it a second time to then, like do a deep analysis of the director's vision and blah, blah, blah. And this movie I've never forgotten it. Well, it turns out, for crying out loud, it was a book first, of course. And I know the book is going to be great because it's definitely magic realism is in it. I remember that much about it. And so the book was published in 1967, Joan Lindsay. And so a few of these titles, 100% I'm going to read. Some of them might swap out, but that is my goal for 2024. My 12 women. Ta-da.
I think that is a fantastic goal, and I'm jealous that I did not think of doing something like that.
Yeah, but I'll tell
That's
you
good.
what,
That's good.
you reading Helen Humphreys is going to be
Oh,
equal
yes, I'm
to what
very
I'm doing. Yeah,
yeah,
because
yeah.
I cannot wait. Because I do think there's something to be said about reading one person's body of work. In fact, let me just say that our good friend Trish Talks Books, in one of her blog posts, or her newsletters, I should say, she had this great article that talked about that, about, a lot of times we can actually see the progression an author takes from book one all the way through the body of their work, right?
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, for crying out loud, I'm usually a one and done kind of person. I'll read one book by an author, but I don't go back and read a lot of other ones. And so that's actually what got me started in this whole idea of doing this, was from that article that Trish had posted in her newsletter.
Yeah.
So even though I'm not picking one author to read their whole body of work, you are, which is why I'm really excited to see what you read. And are you thinking like reading them chronologically to kind of see that progression at all,
I
or?
hadn't really thought of it, but now that you mention it, yes, I like that idea. That's a great idea. Like, just to see that progression. Because originally I was gonna start with her most recent because that dog book,
Yeah.
really intrigues me, but yeah, you're right, that's kind of a great idea, isn't it?
You should reach out
Yeah.
to Trish and ask her for that link to that. I don't remember what newsletter it was in, but
Okay.
I really feel like it might have been like in the middle of the summer, because that's how long I've been thinking about this particular goal, even though
Okay.
I didn't quite do it that way. But I will say, when I started reading Richard Wagamese and I read book number 1, that's why I had it in my mind to think, okay, this Richard Wagamese started out so strong in this first book, Keeper and Me, that I thought, holy crap, like how did this man start so strong in the first one and then continue his career? It was
Yeah.
just amazing. But anyway, it's thanks to Trish, that article she posted, that made me start thinking about all these things.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Oh,
anyway,
yeah, I'm very excited for this one, to hear your feedback.
I think we have brilliant goals this
Yeah,
year. I honestly do.
yeah,
So I'm really excited.
I know. I'm very excited for this year of reading. It's gonna
Me
be a good one.
too.
I
Yes, I
know, I
agree.
know. Oh my gosh, we're so brilliant,
Aren't
Rebecca.
we? We really
Yep.
are, We'll just pat ourselves on the
Well,
back and
I was
say,
gonna say,
how
let's
great
chat
are
now, and
we?
then we'll see, next year on January 2nd when we look back on these,
I know.
and we'll see how we did.
Yeah, and I'll be like, "Well, I read 3 of them." But again, my big disclaimer is, because I'm a mood reader, we just never
Yes.
know what
Yes.
might get swapped out. Oh, and let me just mention really quickly, that's what I forgot to mention this. So Jen, when I reached out to her, I said, "Any recommendations?" And she gave me A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, which I
Oh,
loved.
yes. I haven't read that one yet, but
You've not Oh my
no.
god. That is one of my all-time favorite books. I love it'd be in my top 20. I love that book
Okay.
so much. So I said to her, "Oh my gosh, I could reread that one too, because I'm rereading like Rebecca, etc."
Yeah.
And then the other one she mentioned, and I told her 100% this is going on my list. It's called The Street by Ann Petry. I'm not sure how to pronounce
Oh,
it.
yes.
Yeah, she went back and gave me the link to her review that she wrote, I think in 22. I think it was, I want to say September 22, but anyway, holy crap. Her review of that book is probably as good as the book, honestly. It made me definitely want to read the book. And so I told her 100% something else might get displaced and that one's going to be added. So
Yeah.
that's why I say, who knows what it'll look like at the end of the year, but this is the beginning steps. So
Well, that's the joy of like reading and
yes.
having goals. But it's also it's a journey, right?
Yeah.
Reading is a journey, and it's lovely. Well, amazing. Well, let's do a little like chin chin, a little toast for a new year of reading for both of us.
Yay. Here we
Yes.
go.
Yep. Bring it
Clink,
on.
clink. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, happy reading, everyone.
Thank you for joining us on our bookish journey. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing Canada Reads American Style wherever you listen. You can connect with the podcast and Rebecca on Instagram at Canada Reads American Style and with Tara at On a Branch Reads. Until next time, keep reading.